So, in case you're living under a rock, there was a huge commotion recently in the equities space where Elon Musk just sold another 22 million shares of Tesla just last week to raise $3.6 billion. So, this news actually came not long after Elon made the comment during the last earnings call, where he sees a potential path of Tesla being worth more than Apple and Saudi Aramco combined. And at the time of that statement, both companies are valued at $4.5 trillion combined. So this statement was actually made around end of October, 6 weeks before Elon actually sold his shares. So this definitely got many investors on the sidelines wondering, if Elon is really that confident of Tesla's future projections and valuation, why would he sell now when Tesla is only at $500 billion? Hey, that's a huge haircut from the promised $4.5 trillion. So to ride on this news of insider selling, Joe Tsai, who's also one of Alibaba's co-founder, has also recently filed to offload about 3 million Alibaba ADR shares, which is worth, give or take, around $260 million. So what is with all these insiders selling out of their own company? And on top of that, most of these companies are trading in the open market either near their 52 weeks low or even in the historical lows. Looking at you, Alibaba. Now, you know what else is at historical lows? The number of like buttons being smashed on this video. So make sure you get that number up and going. So when we first look at the news of an insider selling out of their stock, we almost immediately equate that to being a bad news for the company, and rightfully so. Questions like these will pop out in your minds. What am I missing? Why are they selling? Is the upcoming few quarters going to be bad? They probably know something since they are running the company. So since even insiders are selling their stock, should I be selling alongside them as well? I think the first thing you should do is to calm yourself down first. So I think there are two critical factors that needs to be taken into account. One, the intention. Two, the size relative to their remaining position. So firstly, from the perspective of intentions or motivations per se, we can argue until the cows come home. But unless it's straight out from the horse's mouth, which means that unless that said particular insider comes out to make a public statement on why they decided to sell their stock, we can only speculate at best. So for the two examples that I essentially cited at the start of this video, it is largely speculated that Elon Musk needed money to bail Twitter out, hence the sale. So for Tsai on the other hand, he has sold Alibaba when it was listed in 2014 and has since cut his holdings further between 2017 and 2021 for a total of around $3.3 billion for wealth planning and philanthropic commitments. So was this part of a grander plan? Who knows? I'm not his wealth planning manager. What I would like to say is this. Like in the game of investing, there can be 1001 reasons as to why someone sell his or her stock position. But there is probably only one reason why someone would buy a stock. Probably because they see some value and they think that the stock is going to go higher. So I would caution investors from jumping ahead of themselves and think that, hey, insiders selling is the be all and end all. We should all exit now. On the second point, even after the sale, Elon still owns around 423 million Tesla shares, which is worth about $69 billion. And rest assured, he still has plentiful of skin in the game. So on the flip side, however, the 3 million Alibaba shares represented around 8% of Joseph's current stake, meaning that he has around $3 billion left. And he has effectively shaved off around 50% of his stake since the start, ever since Alibaba went IPO. That said, I think it isn't really fair to be comparing Alibaba against Tesla, given the fact that both companies are at extremely different growth stages, and I would suspect that both Elon and Joseph operate with a very, very different time horizon and life cycle as well. And I've got good news for you. So I know many of you tend to be lifelong learners in your own personal capacity, and investing is ultimately a compounding game. So the more knowledge you actually acquire, the better it is for your next company analysis. So brilliant.org is the best way to learn math, science, and computer science interactively. So I think having a foundational understanding in probability and also to be able to think logically is critical in investing because we have to work with too many assumptions and too much noise in the market. So I'm currently taking a course on logic, and many of these interactive lessons surely did keep me on my toes. So you get to engage with interesting puzzles and think on multi-levels so as to help you become a much better thinker after the course. So finish off the year by upgrading yourself with Brilliant, where you will find thousands of courses where you will learn by doing, with exclusive new content being added monthly. So to get started for free, visit my link brilliant.org/taychiking in the description below, and the first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant annual premium subscription. So thank you, Brilliant, for sponsoring this video. On the flip side, if you were to observe another company like LVMH, Bernard, who's the chairman and CEO of LVMH, has been aggressively buying shares of his own company over the last 6 months at least. You can see that back in May, when LV was traded sub 600, there was literally one buy order from Bernard himself every other week. 10 million euros, 20 million euros, 5 million euros, 15 million euros. The current richest man on earth just cannot stop buying his own shares. So how would you feel as a shareholder when you see your CEO and chairman doing something like that? Brimming in confidence, of course. Maybe that's why when you chart out the stock movements of these three companies, you have Tesla and Alibaba doing so badly, while LVMH is essentially flat year to date. So just to be clear, insiders buying and selling is just one of the many metrics you should keep track of when you want to be invested. And of course, just because insiders are buying might not necessarily mean that it's a good thing. He or she might just want to put on a facade and maybe deceive investors of the real conditions of the company. So I wouldn't totally rule that out either. Now, if we were to circle back to the main topic of this video, what should we do when we see insiders selling? So the first response is to first do nothing. Calm yourself down, revisit your thesis on why you invested in that particular stock in the very first place, and challenge all the different assumptions that you have made prior to this selling. You think about how they would be affected by what the insiders might or might not know, because they might be in a much better position to make that assessment. So it's ultimately still a quote-unquote guessing game. On the other hand, if you do observe a trend of insiders buying their own stock within a particular price range, like the example that I've talked about previously, Bernard is essentially accumulating the stock within the 550 to 650 euro range. So you might also want to jot it down somewhere in your notebook, as it might actually prove to be a good entry price if and only if you are interested in starting a position in that particular company. Just some life hacks, of course. Oh, and one last important thing to take note of. Do also take into account the difference in time horizon and investment objective when you compare yourself to the different insiders in the executive position. For one, Bernard Arnault is probably going to hug his shares to his grave because LVMH is his own family empire. So technically, his time horizon might be forever, while you guys on YouTube watching this particular video today might have a different view of investing into LV or whatever that company is. So just be aware of these peculiar differences. Do leave in the comment section down below what do you read of this entire situation of both Alibaba and Tesla insiders selling situation. And with that, I'll see you in the next video, but more importantly, I will see you on the moon. Goodbye!